So next up, we actually have a very interesting conversation because mostly we have been talking about the experience and kind of what has already happened. We were discussing success stories and the lessons learned from the past. Now we're going to be joined by Roland Hörmann, who is the founder of Sibvisions and Vision X. Roland is actually a person who has around 20 years of experience working in no-code. And Roland will be speaking about what is coming next. I mean, based on what has happened, based on what is going on right now. I mean, and there's a lot of things going on right now. And Roland is probably one of the best people in the world, having that much of a mileage in the no-code world, to tell us more about what the trends are and where we're going to be in a year, 2 or 5 years from now. Roland, how are you doing tonight?
Fine. Thank you very much for asking. And how are you?
Very good. Thank you. Please let us know what is it that we can tell to our guests about the future for no-code.
Yeah, I try to do that. Yeah, thank you for having me here. And yeah, I hope my English is fine enough. I'm from Austria, Vienna, so it's not my mother language. So basically, I want to talk about no-code platforms today. What actually are the features at the moment of a lot of platforms? If you believe in Gartner, then it's 280 of them on the market. What are the current limitations of these tools, and what will bring the future at the end of the day? So, like you said, yeah, I'm long ago in this market. I'm focusing on visual development and fast development since 25 years, and the term low code or no code is not so long on the market. So before we had no really name for such platforms, but now we have a good name for it, and that is good because it helps everybody here to promote this possibility of building software way more efficient than it was before. So let's have a click and then on the next slide here. So basically, we have a look a little about the features of such platforms, or basically what I want to say is what I really can build with such a no-code platform. Yeah, that is sometimes often the question because nobody can really imagine that a business user really can build an application. When you read some different websites, then they say, all the vendors, you can do everything with it. But the real truth is it's not everything, but it's way more than you could expect. And we will go through that today. So what you can build is web, desktop, and mobile applications, pretty any of them, yeah, in any kind of different ways. And if it's B2C, B2B, if it's more for startups, is it more for medium-sized companies, or if it's for big-sized companies that have to change their business model. I have a lot of use cases, yeah. And how look that? Maybe like this here. So that's a variety of possible solutions that you can build. So it can be, let's say, something you scan something of a packet somewhere, or you have some, let's say, claim management for an insurance company that your customers really can, let's say, make the claim very easy with the insurance company app, or let's say you have on-site a maintenance team that checks some machine systems, and you want to have to do that there. So you can do that with a mobile app, and that is very specific for each business. So how this application should be, or really back office applications, customer portals, and so on. So can do all kind of web, mobile, and desktop applications. So here we have some more screenshots that you see a little bigger. So let's say you can have some maps for riding from A to B with something like a taxi, Uber, whatever. The claim management, what I mentioned before, or like a dashboard at the end is often asked for from customers when all this data is captured or managed in this system. So we need then afterwards a great overview. So basically, I think now we have an overview of what we really can build. And now we go to the next step. Consist of which components such platforms will be, which components have this platform. So basically, there are different ones. So let's say, first one is, let's say, a user interface. So each of that platform can design, build user interfaces in different ways. Sometimes there are templates involved, sometimes you do everything from scratch. You have your different opportunities. The second thing is what you find there is a data model. A data model is something where you store your data. Could be a real database, there are different types of databases, but at the end of the day, it need to be very easily accessible for you as a business user and hide the technology in the background that you really can store data and use the data in your user interfaces. The next part we have here, let's say workflows or logic or flows between your applications. So let's say you click on a button and you want an email should be sent somewhere, or you want to create automatically all your invoices from the last month or from the last week, or whatever functionalities you want. But that is our flows. They are connecting, using your data and do something with it. That's not all, because you're usually not alone. So you use sometimes data from other systems. Could be other software as a service solution. You want to get some data from, I don't know, from a marketing tool that you need to integrate with it because you have some leads and you want to create from the leads out some more information. It could be something like you want to send out invoices, or you want to handle the payment, like with Stride or with other platforms. So you really need integrations with other systems. Or if you're a medium-sized company already, you need also integrations with different of your existing systems. Second very important thing is components. You need some components to be more faster in the development process or in the creation process, because if you would click everything from scratch, it will also still need some time. And also if everything is done without components, it can getting a little complicated in that area. And also very important, at the end of the day, you want to use all this data that you maybe have. You can use dashboards maybe, or you want reports, or you want some management of this data and bring more data, more information out of all this, what you have built with your application. So I'll go a little more in depth on these topics here. So basically, from the user interface designer, I think everybody can imagine something like a drag and drop elements from A to B, what you can do with Bubble, VisionX, Mendix, OutSystems, the big companies in this area, or other platforms that you've ever have seen, like Caspio, QuickBase, and others. Yeah, so you really can interactive design your screens with it. Depending on which vendor you have chosen, it's different from that what your abilities are. Yeah, some designers like Bubble, you can position pretty everything. VisionX also allows that. Some others just have kind of pixel perfect positioning. That's sometimes an advantage, sometimes also a disadvantage. At the end of the day, if you really from scratch design all of your screens, that sounds in the first moment very great, but then after the day, it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of possibilities to make mistakes there. So templates really helps in that area. So let's say you want some certain ways of you manage data or you show data to your customer. There are some things that are always the same when you ask a software developer that is some years in the business. Sure, it can always be a little different, but the thing is, why you should invent the wheel again if something is fine for you? Sure, some screens you want very flexible, some you use templates. For some, you just copy an example because maybe there's an example project management tool already there and you use it, just extend it with that what you need. Not everything is really unique, but some parts are really unique what you need. And that is the reason for a low code instead of standard product. When we're being at the data side, so pretty everybody understands a spreadsheet, Excel or so on, Google Sheets or something. So you basically have your data in a kind of a table style there. So you have columns and then you have rows and there you have some data. Here it's some customer data, yeah. So, and it's a good start when you're coming not from you're not experienced low-code user, then it's better you start from your Excel sheet and import this Excel to your low-code platform. Pretty all of these platforms can do that for you. So that's a good start for your data area. Then it gets sometimes a little more complicated. So at the end of the day, you have to making a data model of your data. So in the beginning, it sounds a little complicated for a not techie guy. But when you imagine a table is something like a sheet, an Excel sheet with some labels and some rows in it, then you know already a lot of data modeling. Yeah? Sure, there are more than that. And it's the different ways of you can do that. So you can have on the left side, you have a classic entity relationship diagram, what software developers know very well. But for a non-techie, it's not easy to understand, in my opinion. On the right side, you see a different way of showing a data model. Yeah, it's more like a description from the point of view from the user interface. So you see here a list of names, like a name, a project has a name, a description, a from date, a to date. And then you see here a combo box for a type, because I want to choose from a combo box the list of types. So I see it from the visual perspective, but it describes the real data model. And that's way easier for a business user to understand than an entity relationship model. So there are different ways of showing that, yeah. So that's something about the data. So, but at the end of the day, we have some data entered over user interface. It can be a mobile app, can be a native mobile app, can be a web app, can be a responsive web app. Responsiveness is always very important. But at the end of the day, we have just managed data. We make just a way better application, a better Airtable at the beginning, to be honest, but without any flows and actions and logic, or however you want to name it. It's still just the Airtable with more features. Yeah, but here is the big difference to be a low-code or no-code platform. You need exactly this part, and for that you have different ways of defining that. So on the right side, you see a classic flow diagram with arrows and connections, and so you can really define what happens first, what happens second, what happens in which cases. Yeah. So that means like when I click on the button and the revenue is more than 10,000, then maybe I want to send an email to the manager because something has to be done from the manager. If it's low bit below 1,000, then maybe we can just approve it right away if it's let's say approval process from a project. So that is what you have to think about. In the beginning, it sounds very easy, but at the end of the day, it's getting complicated, more complicated. And I think there are the problems of low-code platforms at the moment. It's not so easy to think in a technical, developer, logical way to make such flows and interaction possible. All tools try to fix that kind of, but that is not very easy. And here for sure are limits. Not because of the tool usually, more because of the person who used the tool. And sure, as more as you have know-how in the area of logical thinking, what can be from software development or from technical background or other background that maybe helps you. Yeah? Good. What I said, it's not all just that you have this area. So you need also something like predefined, polished components to be faster at the end of the day. Because why you should define your login new, because you need a login screen always, and it has a lot of functionality in the background that not just the right users are allowed to log in. That is maybe not so easy. You maybe want to change the style of such login. That is your thing, what you maybe want to do. But the background thing you want to have just out of the box. Or the menu, you need a menu out of the box. You will maybe want to style it, but you want to have it. So why you should build that from scratch? And that could be good components for an application. User management, registration of users, change of password of users, role management, which user is allowed to do what in your application. You have an administrator maybe, you have normal users, you have maybe users that pay more in the subscription, they see more, they get more. So you need different roles in that situation. If you're coming from a background where you have to protocol everything, where you need an audit log, audit trail or something like that, like when you're being from the pharma industry, everything has to be protocoled perfectly. The FDA will control it. So you need such functionality out of the box. And there are hundreds of more of these components that you maybe need. And that is something you should consider when you decide for a local platform. Because that's thing, it's not easy to build on your own, yeah? Maybe with developers you can do it, but just with a clicky in the low-code, no-code tool, that's very tough. Yeah, integrations, like I said, integrations with other databases that you have already in your business. Yeah. Other software as a service products, ERP systems, other systems, CRMs, marketing, whatever, that need to be connected, and platforms can do that. So you have REST APIs, or REST services is the technical term for it, to connect other systems. Yeah. Databases could be in-house, out of the house. Anyways, you can connect these things to have more data in a complete system. Reporting is sometimes possible. You need to send at the end of the day then the invoice PDF to your customers, because in Europe you need write invoices. Sometimes I think American companies are doing it a little smaller and shorter, but different countries, different regulations for such things. What kind of other reports can maybe send for that? Sometimes necessary. Good. So far with the features, I could talk another 5 hours about all features in depth, but I think that's too boring for you guys. Yeah, if you have more questions, we can answer it afterwards, after the talk for sure. But now, what are the limitations at the moment of these platforms? Because all the vendors say pretty everything is possible. Some say a little more, some say a little less. But at the end of the day, there are limitations. And I go through some of the main limitations, in my opinion, for such platforms. One thing is, you can build the best low-code, no-code platform in the world, but for sure, some feature will missing. You cannot build all what a person can imagine want to have in this tool. That's not possible. Nobody can do that. The tools will be better every year. The features will be more. The vendors will say, this is there, this is there, this is there next year or in the next release. Fine. But you're now building your app and you need now a solution for the problem. Yeah. And what should you do? Stop using this tool, or you need a solution? So you need a solution. Otherwise, you have used already 10,000 hours for your application, or 500 hours. Depends how big it is. Yeah. So now, and as long as you're using it, as bigger will this be a problem for you. Yeah. The beginning, maybe not. Yeah. So you need extensions. So are there extensions available from the vendor? Are there an open platform where others can make extensions? That's a good thing. But still, that solves not everything. Yeah? At the end of the day, how are you able to access on the code level and make really very specific solutions? Sure, it depends on your requirements and on your use case. In the beginning, everything looks very simple. But I can tell you, after 30 years in the IT business, it's not so simple as it looks like in the beginning. All the platforms are great, but sometimes, or after a while for sure, it's getting complicated. And then if you have access to a developer, a consultant from the vendor, from partners, whatever, somebody, you need an option to change the code and make it possible that you have the solution you need for your idea, for your company. Good. Next thing is login. It's a big topic nobody talks about usually in the low-code area, because really everybody has a big login, to be honest. Sorry that I say that here, but it is the truth. The reason why is, if you build an application or explain what is login, it's not clear for everybody what is login at the end of the day. If you build an application with the platform A or with the platform B, fine. After a while, you say it's too expensive, or you cannot realize all of that what you want. You have no option. You can just cancel the subscription, then you have no app anymore, or you have no apps anymore if it's maybe then 10 apps. Yeah? And you cannot take it to yourself. You don't have it. You not own it. It's no option. So you have to think about it if there is really a problem for you or not. Yeah. To be honest, as bigger as you grow, as bigger as your company will, as more it will be a problem. Yeah? The beginning, you're happy that it's there, but you have to be aware of that. Other things, in my opinion, and maybe some people have different opinions to this topic, is it's not a very good fit for a low-code, no-code platform to build games with it. You could make some simple games for sure, yeah, but it's not the right platform for it. It's not a perfect fit. For websites, in my opinion, too, because websites is something more static, and web applications and mobile applications are something dynamic. And these platforms are built for dynamic, not for static websites usually. Sure, some parts can be static, and it can be also used for some websites. It's okay. And I've seen Bubblist do it very well with that part. But in my opinion, for websites, it's more common to use a CMS system. Has not to be WordPress, can be something better, yeah, easier, sure. But that's a different point of view. I think no-code, low-code platforms are for applications, not for websites. And the main thing, independent from the first three parts, is the main limit of a low-code platform, or to be honest, for making a very good result, what you want to build for your new company is the logical thinking skill of a developer. That is usually not there if you're not being a developer. And the thing is, these tools are great and you can do things that are not too complicated in their logic, in their flows, but it comes to complicated logic and flows, then it's not a limit of the tools usually, it's more a limit of the user that use the tool. And you have to be aware of that, and that's something, that's the truth, and it will be longer the truth. And I know everybody of the vendors wants to come through this, because that limits the ability of building applications in a more bigger and complex scale. And that's also something what has to be solved in the future to have more success with no-code platforms. And the next point is, what the point is the future, or what do I think? Sorry, that's my opinion and opinion from some people with them I talk about it. Yeah, it's not a generic idea. Maybe some others have other ideas, and I'm very open to discuss this topic, or also the topic about limitations or features, because this discussion helps to make all these no-code platforms better at the end of the day and deliver that what the customers really want. But in my opinion, the future of no-code and low-code is the following. I think it's no matter that no-code will be the future and low-code, because the normal hand coding needs too long and costs too much. It cannot be possible. And you need 5 times more of these developers that are not on the market, and they will not fall out of universities. It will not happen. It will just some coming out, new ones, but not enough what we really need. So we need to have a solution, and the solution is no-code and low-code. But what will change in the future with these platforms? In my opinion, it will be there thousands of templates. Because the reason, if you have more templates, you can start from something what's already working, instead of you have to do everything from scratch. And that is way easier for the business users, for the business low-code, no-code developers, than when you do it the other way around. Also, if it's not fitting perfectly, these templates, that's okay, that can happen. Second point, in my opinion, is it needs way more smart modules or components, or however you want to name it. Because the main problem of the low-code platform at the moment is to solve complex logics or functionalities. And the only way to solve that is you have components that do already the right thing for you. Or it's so easy customizable, also easy changeable from a normal perspective user to get that out what you want. And for that, there is a lot is there, but you need way more than that, what you see here. And for sure, machine learning will help us here, because still when you have all these things, you can make a lot of mistakes when you build your applications, because you use the wrong module, or you use the wrong template, or you use the wrong way of doing it. Sure, there will be some frameworks in the future that you don't make so much errors when you create no-code with no-code and app, yeah. But when the no-code, low-code app help you with some decisions, then you make less mistakes, because they could learn about that what others have done in the same situation, and then maybe know which one was right and which one was wrong, so that you have here a little more options here. So I'm basically at the end of my presentation, and thank you much for your time. So now it's open for questions. Who has questions so far?
Thank you. I felt fascinated by the amount of wisdom and the amount of experience that were put into this, those conclusions. I feel I definitely, we as a team, we have far less experience than you have in the no-code world, but we have also reached some of those conclusions both about why the limitations that are existing today require more creative approaches, as well as what is actually going to be the future for the no-code builders and what is it lacking at the moment. Especially about the templates part. Definitely, this is part of Zeroqode's vision. We are trying to create as many as people may need to get them a head start and figure out and focus them right on the actual issue that they're trying to solve and skipping everything else that has been done already for them. I was wondering about your vision, like this, what you have explained is as a long-term vision, like the machine learning and the templates. It will take time and take some people's effort to digest that in a way that would be perceived as something usable, common, which it really is. But what do you think is your opinion of why no-code overall was actually having a very hard time dealing with businesses, dealing with larger enterprises? Because I feel like generically, actually, no-code is exactly what they need, right? The tool that can be used to solve problems fast, to validate theories fast, yet it has been, with an exception of a few niche cases and companies, maybe yours is a great exception too, by the way, but for a lot of tools, B2B and business overall seems to be a very hard field to expand to, while people are having a lot easier time with smaller teams and founders, but big business proves to be a challenge almost like in 9 out of 10 cases. What do you think is the reason for that?
Yeah, I think there are different reasons, depend which where you connect in which of these areas of a bigger or middle-sized company. Sure, I'm from a very conservative country, a very rich country, and everybody have pretty everything here. So we have health insurance and everything. COVID-19 is not so big problem, and all that. So you don't have to change. So we have more customers outside of Austria than inside of Austria, because the reason is, you need people that want to build something, they want to change something. Sure, in startups you find this kind of thinking, but you can find this kind of thinking also in mid-range or big companies. That's there, but you have to find it, and it's more complicated. I think one reason for this problematic is when you go to the software development departments of these companies, because they're sitting there, classic developers, they're using the classic stacks like Java, Spring Boot, Node.js, Angular, React, and all that stuff. They say, you never can design it with a GUI designer. That's not working. And you cannot build everything of that. It's not working. You say always, you get always no's. You know what I mean? Do you need an answer of it? And then you say, yes, it's possible. And it's possible, to be honest. Yeah. But the problem is not easy when you're working against windmills. So when you go more to the business department of the same company, then it's made more easier, because they tell you, the IT department don't deliver that what I want. I want that, and they don't deliver. And I not even ask them anymore, because they never will deliver it. So it's easier to address this than the others. But still, it's a big company, and it's slow. To be honest, it's not the holy grail for this. But that's, in my opinion, you need to search for the innovators, for the thinkers, for the builders, or however you want to name it.
So what you're saying is there's not enough incentive for a lot of people who are actually the decision makers to do the switch, because they're pretty comfortable in where they are right now. And what we're missing is the catalyst, right? So some kind of a push, because it's going to be ending up being better for everyone, and everyone is going to win. There's going to be no losers in this situation. But what we're missing is the push. Did I get this right?
And you need the acceptance from the development community, and it's not there. Developers,
that's a tough one.
Is a clicky thingy, what you don't need. And that's the problem. That will change, I guarantee you that. That will change, it has to be changed. But when you go to the business, you don't get these answers, you get other answers. They want a great app for, I don't know, claim management in a big insurance company. What's not there? Why the IT not deliver?
Gotcha. Last but not least, Roland, I feel like there's a lot more where this came from in terms of the takeaways and wisdom and advice Can you tell us a little bit more? How can people reach out to you and know more about you are up to personally, and what do your companies are doing, and what value can they offer? Where can we find you?
Yeah, please visit our booth. We have here a booth at this online conference, and I really appreciate that we're being here because it's very good organized. It's a great online conference to please visit us on our booth. We are very open to discuss anything, just talking about low code, or if you're interested in the tool, if you're willing to share
Thank
and
you.
show your
People
content.
and speakers like you are what are making this conference amazing. Thank you, Roland. We really appreciate this very thorough and very detailed review of where we are and where we go next. And this got me thinking on quite a few things. And I'm sure that a lot of people reach out to ask more questions as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also. And I tell you, there is a platform where low code and no code with no limits is possible. Thank you very
Amen
much.
to that.
Have a great day.